Hey everyone, I thought I'd come on here and talk about something that, well, if you see it both ways, hopefully if this works, is kind of exciting news. Um, Yesterday, um, during the recent NXT tapings, it was announced, and these are the NXT tapings that are going to lead into the Takeover event before Survivor Series. But it was announced that at Takeover in Houston, Texas, a certain match would be making its return almost after 20 years. Yeah. Basically, nearly 20 years later, this match is making a comeback. And we're not talking any kind of different variation of it. We're talking legitimate. At NXT Takeover on in November, I believe, 21st. I could be wrong. Let's see, 15, trying to think here. 15, 16, 17, 18. Well, November 18th, I believe. Around that time frame. Basically, the day on the takeover before Survivor Series, we will see the iconic return of WarGames, the match beyond. Now, we're not talking, like I said, a one cage surrounded a ring kind of WarGames. I'm not talking, that kind of a concept. I'm talking the two-ring, one big cage format. The only thing that might disinterest some people about this match is the fact that it doesn't have two teams, it has three. The teams are going to comprise of the Undisputed Era, Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, and Kyle O'Reilly, facing off against Sanity. That's Eric Young, Alexander Wolf, and Killian Dane. And the team comprised of Roderick Strong and the Authors of Pain. Now, some people might say, well, why is Roderick Strong teaming up with the AOP? Well, you just have to watch the tapings as they air, but let's just say he has a reason. He has a reason. Although, some might say, just by reading the spoilers, or even when they watch this, some might say that there could be a twist in this during the match itself. But, yeah, WWE is bringing back WarGames. They are bringing back WarGames, and they have renamed NXT Takeover Houston as NXT Takeover WarGames. Now, what's interesting about this is they're going to have two rings, like I said, the traditional WarGame setup. Two rings, one big cage. The thing is, the next night is Survivor Series in the same building. How are you going to work this within the next 24 hours, within the 24 hours that pass? And I'm sure they'll work the magic, but how are they going to get things set up and ready to be transitioned from this environment to Survivor Series? I don't think they can. I don't think they can. That's why I believe this might be a WarGames weekend. Hear me out. We are a month away. We are literally over a month away from Survivor Series and NXT Takeover WarGames. Now, we know the WarGames announcement's coming up probably within the next week or so. What we don't know is what do they have in store for the main brand when it comes to Survivor Series. Of course, one of the featured matches probably is going to be for brand supremacy, Raw versus SmackDown. So how do you do that? Well, my thought process on that is, why not have the Brand Supremacy Survivor Series match a WarGames match? Because literally, when you think about it, the whole thing for Brand Supremacy is a war. It's kind of a war. So why not keep the 2-ring, 1-cage setup for WarGames that you have for NXT Takeover WarGames, keep it, and do a more traditional, 4-on-4, 5 versus 5 WarGames matchup. To me, it makes sense, because whatever brand is the one that wins is the superior brand. And what better way to settle it for this year, and maybe for years beyond, if they continue with the brand split, than to have a WarGames match. It makes sense in my opinion. So, unless they want to do a lot of work, I would suggest just keep the 2-ring setup and do back-to-back WarGame matches. One for Takeover, one for Survivor Series. But you're probably wondering, what is WarGames if you're new? Well, WarGames is a match concept that began and originated on July 4th, 1987. It was a match that pitted Dusty Rhodes, the Road Warriors, and I can't think who the other teammate was, and Paul Ellery against the Horsemen and J.J. Dillon. Now, throughout its history, it became a staple for WCW NWA. Some of the WarGame matches that would take place wouldn't just be televised on the Great American Bash or other pay-per-views. They would also be shown as live event, live show, house show attractions. And this would be going on for years and years and years. You wouldn't know about it unless it got advertised. So, for years and years and years and years, you would end up getting televised pay-per-view WarGame matches, and you'd be getting WarGame matches unaired and just exclusive house show matches. Now, sometimes you would get the same match time after time after time after time, because if you're doing a live event tour, you gotta basically give every town you go to the same matchup, maybe with a few participants switched out here and there. But as time went on, WCW started to make WarGames more exclusive to pay-per-view. They started making it more exclusive with things like Wrestle War. Then they went and made it exclusive for things like Fall Brawl. So WarGames has had a huge history. And if you want to look at it from a timeline perspective, this would be, because WWE owns the library, they own the rights to in a sense, the WCW concept, if you will. Well, not necessarily, but they own the rights and all that. The point is, chronologically, because like I say, WWE owns the license and the rights and all that, chronologically, this would be the 32nd WarGames match under that same umbrella. Yes, it's WWE, and it's WWE's first WarGame match, but it's not the first WarGames match chronologically, because if you look into WWE's history, now that they have the WCW history, it shows that it's going to be the 32nd WarGames match, under their umbrella. The other 31 were under the NWA WCW umbrella. Now, WarGames has also been interpreted in other promotions. Combat Zone Wrestling has done it. Major League Wrestling has done it. PWU has done it. ECW's even done it. And of course, GFW TNA Impact Wrestling has done it. Women Superstars Uncensored has done it. They've all done their own all these promotions that I've mentioned, along with a few others, have all done their own variations of WarGames. Some have decided to just do the whole one-ring, one-cage concept, which, from a financial standpoint, probably is the best they can do. others like MLW, PWU, and I think even Combat Zone Wrestling, I guess, had the finances to do a double ring and a huge cage on top of it. I think Ring of Honor has also done that once, but mostly stuck with the one cage deal, just like Impact does. Now, like I said, there have been different variations and stipulations to WarGames. Some WarGame matches, you would have to handcuff your opponent to the cage to win the match. Or at least try to win the match. Smoky Mountain Wrestling has done this during some of their events like Fire on the Mountain and stuff like that. PWG is also, PWU has also done this with the Cuff and Cage match that they have that you can find on YouTube. Combat Zone Wrestling has had their own unique spin on it by adding the stipulation that one ring was filled with a bunch of thumbtacks. So the point is that this concept of WarGames has been carried on into different promotions, and different promotions have basically given it its own unique spin, have given their own unique spin on the concept. Like I said, some can only do a one-ring deal, which is fine, and some would put out the money to do a two-ring deal. Now, when it comes to WWE, there have been numerous occasions where they could have easily done WarGames several times over. You know, people crap on the whole invasion angle, and I don't blame them. But if they would have used the WarGames concept to conclude it at Survivor Series of that year, I think that would have been a saving grace. I really do. You know, there have been many other instances as well. During the original brand split back from 2002 to basically 2010, you had numerous times where you could have done a WarGames concept match at Survivor Series. But they never did. The point is, WWE's had numerous times to do this. The only problem is none of those opportunities were capitalized on by Vince McMahon. Instead, Vince McMahon decided to go against it. Here's why. Because even though he had brought Dusty in as a backstage agent, executive producer, stuff like that, and then Triple H took him over to NXT with him, and then Triple H brought him on board for NXT, the point is, even though they did all this stuff with Dusty and his sons and his family, you would think probably the biggest show of gratitude would be to use WarGames, right? But no. Here's why. Vince McMahon has this embedded in his head, I believe, that if they were to use WarGames, people would rather see that over something like Hell in a Cell or a regular Survivor Series match. And he doesn't want that. He wants his concepts to be front and center. But now, how is Vince McMahon going to react to the fact that his son-in-law, who is in charge of NXT, going to how is he going to feel that his son is bringing WarGames into the equation? I'm just saying. Now, a lot of people, I'm sure, are wondering, how are they going to do this WarGames match? Because one thing that was traditional about the WarGames matches when they began, and even throughout, is that once in a while, one, two, maybe several competitors, or one competitor at least, would be bleeding. They would be showing color, if you will. Color would be showing on them. Whether it was one opponent, whether it was one participant, two participants, multiple participants, somehow throughout the match, someone or someones would be bleeding. So the question is, how is WWE going to avoid that with this? Hopefully very carefully, but if fans at the Full Sail Arena hear about the fact that, oh yeah, WarGames is coming back, and people read about it online, and they're going to watch that announcement on WWE Network on NXT, do you not think they're not going to want to, who know about, you don't think these fans who know about WarGames are not going to want to see it done in that manner, right? Of course they are. They're going to want to see WarGames done. I mean, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they want to see a WarGames match? The point is, WarGames can and will be done, can and should be done correctly. But the question is, can WWE for one night pull it off? I think they could. And I think NXT, whether people like it or not, I think it's probably the best platform to bring WarGames back, to test the waters as far as WWE goes at having a WarGames concept. Now, like I said, if I'm WWE and I want to avoid all this whole, let's put it this way, if I'm WWE and I want to avoid the whole, well, what do we do about the 2-ring deal? Yeah, you can go and break down the ring all you want, take out the cage all you want, da-da-da. But if I'm WWE, I capitalize on this. I take advantage of this, and I say, you know what? We're not going to have one WarGames match. We're going to have 2. And if I'm Vince McMahon and I see that NXT is going to do a WarGames, I say to myself, I'm doing WarGames 2, and it's going to be my kind of WarGame. And I'm going to do a WarGames 2, and it's going to be for brand supremacy. I think WWE would be crazy not to capitalize on this. Because you take this concept here, a 2-ring deal with a big cage, and fans would go nuts for it. Think about it this way. Think about it this way. You want to put some crazy spots in there? You want to put some crazy spots? You could have superstars climb on top of the freaking cage, just like a Hell in a Cell, and you can get your crazy spots there. And they wouldn't be as dangerous as jumping or being thrown off a Hell in a Cell. The point is, I think WWE needs to take advantage of this and give the fans a WarGames weekend. I really do. I really think they need to give them a WarGames weekend, not just a takeover, but a Survivor Series. And I think the way they can do it with Survivor Series is a Raw versus SmackDown brand supremacy match. Instead of doing your traditional, Survivor Series brand supremacy, do a WarGames one. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. Or, if you really want to try to throw some storylines in there, how about you put the Shield, you keep them together up until Survivor Series, and you have them go into WarGames against Miz and Cesaro and Sheamus for the second pay-per-view in a row, but maybe you throw in an additional partner for each side. Maybe Braun Strowman for Miz's team, for Miz and Cesaro and Sheamus. And I don't know, Big Show perhaps, if you want to bring him back. Act for the Shield. Or someone like, I don't know, John Cena. I don't know if he'll be able to come back. Oh heck, Samoa Joe. There you go. Bring Samoa Joe in. Have him team with the Shield. Because there were plans to put Samoa Joe against Miz. There you go. There's a concept right there. But again, I think WWE would be crazy not to take advantage of this. But that's up to them. Right now, like anybody, I'm kind of happy they're bringing WarGames back because I remember watching WarGames. I like WarGames. I think it's a unique concept. I really do. Just how, the question is though, is this going to be a one-time deal or is this going to become traditional? We don't know. I know they're using it, they're probably doing it to test the waters, but if I'm WWE, I really dive right in and I say, you know what? I'm not just doing WarGames for NXT Takeover, I'm doing it for Survivor Series too. I do it back to back. That's what I would do. And like I said, for Survivor Series, I'm giving WWE 2 options here. You could do a brand supremacy Raw vs. SmackDown match in there, or you can do Shield and a partner, and whoever would be the partner, against Miz, Cesaro, Sheamus, and whoever their partner would be. And I think the 2 partners I choose for them are probably the best options. But that's up to WWE. If I'm them, I capitalize on this and doing a WarGames weekend. I really do. But that's up to them. As far as the concept goes, as far as WWE bringing it back, I'm happy. I really am happy that they're bringing it back. The only thing I'm worried about. The only thing I'm worried about is if someone does bleed, if not one or two, if several people bleed in this match, and it's just and we're just talking NXT, and maybe even, let's say, Survivor Series if they carry it over the next night as well. What I'm fearful of is the fact that the way WWE is nowadays is that they might get a phone call from someone saying, "Hey, you're showing blood. You're not supposed to do that. You're going too far. We're going to pull partnership from you," and then this weekend or that weekend would be the once and only time you see WarGames, because WWE's PR office would get a phone call or an email saying, "Oh, you showed blood. You promised not to do that. Now we're pulling away from you." I hope that's not the case, because this is one of those special kind of matches that once or twice in a while, once or twice in a row, is the kind of match that needs color. It needs blood to help sell it. So hopefully this won't be the last and only time we see WarGames in the WWE environment. Hopefully we see it for years to come. Hopefully WWE, like I say, takes advantage of this and does it back-to-back nights. Right? Or if they're going to keep it in NXT, or if they're going to keep it around and keep it in NXT tradition, that they just keep building on it and building on it. Again, I'm just happy it's back. Now, I know a lot of people are fans of the concept that we're going to have 3 teams instead of 2, because the last official WarGames match on a pay-per-view basis or a network-like special basis was 1998, with a similar, where the WarGames match there was a similar match. You had 3 teams instead of 2. And a lot of people pretty much blame that as being the thing that really destroyed WarGames. But we'll just have to wait and see. I would like to see WWE keep WarGames around for years to come. I'd like to see them bring it to the main roster. And like I said, WWE would be foolish not to capitalize on this opportunity that weekend. So we'll just have to wait and see what they do. But as far as WarGames go, I think for those that have heard of it, but have heard of it and have watched, and have probably watched various or different incarnations or different versions throughout the years thanks to the network, if this is going to be your first official live WarGames match, you're in for a treat. You're going to be in for a treat. It's going to be something that you're going to really enjoy. I guarantee it. And you know what? The more you enjoy it, the more they're going to bring it back. So that's all I really can say on my thoughts of WWE bringing WarGames back for NXT Takeover. Again, I think they should capitalize it and also use the WarGames match for Survivor Series the next night. But we'll just have to wait and see. But let me know what you guys think. OTR Central, Jeff Siegel, the Shrek Daddy. I'd like to hear what you have to say on it. But yeah, if this is your first time, is this going to be your first time seeing a live WarGames match? Like I said, you're going to be in for a treat that weekend. That's a guarantee. So let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like. Video responses are greatly appreciated. And I'll talk to you all later.